People of Reddit who work in a casino, what's some of the saddest moments you witnessed? I worked at a casino as a dealer through college. A lot of incidents were pretty sad, especially with regulars that you liked. One regular would tell me about his middle school age kids, and then I would realize the next week or so later that he was missing their school plays recitals, etc. because he was at the tables. I remember working an overnight one Christmas Eve and begging him to go home when 6/7 rolled around because his kid would be up and opening presents. Other times just people screaming at you for stealing their mortgage payments from them that month, then seeing them back again the next day. Geez, that's really depressing. Are you allowed to encourage people to leave the tables? Or are you told not to do that? It's a really murky area for sure. This was in the UKC, 2002 to 2006. During training, we were told we could offer leaflets about gambling addiction to customers we thought had a problem, but that it was a delicate issue best left to pit bosses and managers who were also on the floor. One time a guy who was always on the machines asked me for help and I showed him the materials we had, and then he got really angry with me for suggesting he had a problem, so I didn't try that again. The Christmas Day guy though, I begged him to leave. Not as a dealer in a casino but as a person who'd had an absentee father during childhood. He just wouldn't. During my 8-hour shift, a gentleman won $15,000 on a slot machine, punched out at end of shift and had the next 2 days off. Returned to work after my weekend to find the man still sitting at the same slot machine. He had been there for 2+ days losing $15,000. If you win that much money, pretty much have the mentality in which you will never win this much again. I live next to Atlantic City and when I'm up like $50 I walk out of the casino and play in the ocean for a few hours. I always feel as if the casino paid me to have a fun beach day. Yup, won 5 figures recently and got the fuck out of there as soon as they handed me the check. Best decision I ever made. We used to have a woman who would be on the blackjack tables for 5 nights straight. Her husband would call and tell her that her kids wanted her home. Her boss actually came to the casino to try and get her to leave. She was missing work. I don't know what happened to her, but she's probably ruined her life. We also had a few regulars commit suicide and a few go to jail. How did she still have a job if she was regularly missing weeks of work though? A very kind, sympathetic boss. It's been about 15 years. But I worked in one for about 4 years. The one that stands out was a woman who came from the country to the big city to get Xmas gifts for the whole family, including young kids who still believed in Santa and all of that, but spent all of the Christmas money at the casino before going to the mall. Also, a few years later I went back to visit, and when talking to one of the pit bosses about who is still there and whatnot, she told me one of my old regulars, who was actually nice and likable, a rare trait in that business, had recently committed suicide as a result of gambling too much. Addiction is a horrible disease. Former valet at a casino. The amount of daily regulars who drove barely functioning vehicles full of trash, roaches, and rats who would actually valet their car and go gamble away any money they had to their name was honestly depressing. The saddest I remember was a 90-plus-year-old lady who drove a 91 Corolla, and when we got in her car we realized she had no power steering fluid at all and her steering wheel would barely turn. I have no earthly idea how her frail arms could turn it. We went and bought her some before she left that evening. That was really nice of you to do. My mom works as a dealer at a casino and has told me multiple stories of grown men wearing adult diapers at the table so they don't have to leave to use the restroom, monsieur. I can't even imagine how shitty it must feel to walk back to your room in a fully loaded diaper after losing over 5K. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Now imagine the smell. I'd imagine they're feeling pretty pissed. In general, people who come for the first time and are super nice and friendly, They don't care about winning or losing much, just came to have fun. They come back a few more times. Then after a few years they're regulars that don't smile anymore. They don't laugh, they don't count their wins, just their losses, and sweat every comp point they earn and act like gambling is their job now and the focus of their life. I've seen more than one person have this happen to them. Monsieur, the other saddest thing is when a regular stops coming in and their spouse comes out and tells us they pass. We're almost family with some of our regulars and it hurts to get that news. My favorite regulars were this sweet little old couple. They'd come in a couple times a week, and unlike a lot of regulars, they just came to have fun for a few hours. They didn't spend much and were happy whether they won or lost. If I was there, they'd always specifically come to me. They really did feel like family. About a year ago they just stopped coming. I have no way of knowing why. I really do miss them and hope they're okay. Edit. After reading some of your comments I decided to Google them and several pages, then I found the obituary for who I'm 99% sure was the husband of the couple. He had the same name, same wife's name, same area. It sounds like he had a lot of family and friends. It also said he was a Holocaust survivor, which I had no idea about. He was always in such good spirits. I'd hope that wasn't why aid stopped coming, but at least I know now. We had to evacuate and close down for the rest of the day due to a burst pipe causing no running water. When I walked outside there was an elderly lady throwing a legit tantrum in the parking lot. She was on the ground kicking and screaming. Her scream sounded like something you'd expect from someone who just lost a family member, not someone who had to leave the casino for a few hours. I left, but some of the security who were dealing with her told me later she was too upset to drive home and they had to call a family member to pick her up. I've seen some shit. A lot of what others have commented is fairly common, but this was definitely the most messed up. Sheesh. It's literally an addict in withdrawal. Grandmother, mother, and daughter heading to the casino by car from 2 hours away. Mother had a postcard to get a free cast iron pan for showing up. Daughter is more than 8 months pregnant. 1 hour away from the casino, daughter starts to have labor pains. Mother won't stop and take her to the hospital. She's gotta have that $10 pan. They arrive at the casino an hour before the promotion was going to start. Mother raises all hell trying to get her pan, but the workers for the promo haven't arrived yet. Daughter ends up having to be transported by ambulance to the hospital. All over a $10 pan. Did she ever get the pan? Worked in a bingo hall. Between games people would come to me and buy pull tabs from these big boxes in front of me. Each box had a set amount of winners. People would, I shit you not, spend hundreds of dollars on these. The hall also had me go out with a tray of them during games so people could gamble while I gambled. I had to walk through smoking sections too. Fuck that place. A lady at the casino I dealt at had just sold her house. Around $150,000 in cash. Brings it to the casino. Loses all that, as well as all of her savings and kids' college funds. Absolutely lost it all. It was so bad that she started screaming at our rewards club employees because she needed a $10 comp just to eat for that day. To be fair, if she loses $150,000 in one day, they really ought to comp her at least a fucking meal. They did, and ended up getting her help. Counseling. She was making a scene by the time she got to the counter. They had no way of knowing what was happening yet. There was a regular poker player at the casino I used to work at a few years ago. Let's call him Mike. Mike was one of the sweetest regulars we had. He was always kind, even when he lost his ass. Polite, tipped well, friendly with everyone, just a dream customer. One afternoon he was sitting in the poker game and a lady who none of us had ever seen before comes up behind him and smacks him across the back of his head. She starts screaming at him. "You lost our houses. What are you doing? You've lost everything and you're still here." Quote. The whole casino has frozen at this point and everyone is staring. Mike grabs a rack from under the table, puts his chips in it, and heads to the cage without saying a word or making eye contact with anyone. As Mike is cashing out, the lady, who we can safely assume is his wife, starts yelling at everyone in the casino. "You're all sick. What's wrong with you? You sick people all need help." Quote. Eventually they left, Mike with eyes staring at the ground and his wife right behind, yelling the whole way. That was 3 years ago. The man played every day for over a decade. We never saw him again. I hope that's because he had a moment of clarity. A bit late since there's been so many comments. But nevertheless I got something. Not a worker, but had an uncle addicted to gambling. Worst thing that happened was he used all of his money, lost his job from it, begged for more money which led to him going to the casino again to spend it. Then he went homeless, and any money there went to gambling again. A vicious cycle where he slept on park benches and spent any dime on gambling at the nearest casino. Found out all this one day when he walked by my house with a huge beard, looking like he hadn't showered or eaten in a long time. Good ending. Eventually his mom, my grandmother, took him back in when he begged for a place to stay. I now live with him. He works a full-time job with nice pay, and doesn't drink or gamble anymore. Not the best at managing his money at times, but it's safe to say he's far from where he started. My time to shine. So like every stereotype about casinos, we had a lot of older folks in all the time. We had a guy literally crap his pants at a slot machine, and he refused to admit it. Security came over to him and told him to go change his pants. And he didn't just refuse. He acted like he didn't just crap his pants. He was so adamant about it, and offended that our security would even ask him to go change his pants, he made like 10 times the scene it needed to be. Also, different old guy story. We had an older fella in line at the cage hitting on some younger girl. The guy had a stroke. Like a medical brain turned off for a minute stroke. I was helping a different customer at the cage window and this guy, just in the middle of trying to get some girl's number, blacks out. When the EMTs show up they are making sure he can follow the light with his eyes. But he's still hitting on the girl. I work with the cage in my local casino. This guy, who has doctor in his salutation, lost so much money, couldn't pay, got sued for debt collection, bankrupted and ended up having to pay us $300 a month. The last I counted a few years ago. He will need to pay for at least 133 years before he will finish paying everything with that monthly payment plan. Also some old ladies, men asking us for money to just take the bus home early in the morning because they lost all their money overnight. My boss never agrees but instead offer to call their relatives for them to pick them up. Working in a casino really puts me off gambling. WTH real money. I've only been working in the casino for a few months but I've got one. I work in the AV department. A couple months ago we installed a series of 80 inches TVs in the skyway from the parking lot to the main lobby. Nice Samsungs. They run about $3,200 each. Last month, some guy lost $100 and being a little drunk and disgruntled decided to punch one of those TVs on his way out. Shattered the screen and ruined the TV. TBH, we knew someone would eventually. We had a bet running on how soon it'd happen. Well, that little fit of anger over $100 now cost him an additional $3,200 in damages, medical bills from injuring his hand, and a felony destruction of property charge because of the value of the TV. Rough night, bud. Going to take this in another direction despite how sad it is. Been in the business for 10 years. My first casino had a racetrack as well and it was Kentucky Derby weekend. Always one of the busiest. It was hot as hell that Saturday and I was a 6 p.m. start. We had to park in an overflow section so valet could use the normal employee parking area. I was walking towards the employee entrance with a few other dealers and we heard a couple dogs barking. After a quick look around, we found an SUV with its windows up and these yellow labs barking their heads off. What kind of dickbag leaves their dogs in their car on this kind of day to go gamble? We all looked at each other, but one of the dealers was already on the phone to security with a look like he could kill someone. I worked in Pennsylvania, where the state police has an office on site at every casino. They were out to meet us in less than 5 minutes. They surrounded the vehicle and waited for the dogs to approach one of them. Once the dogs were towards the back of the vehicle, one of the troopers took out a club and smashed the driver's window. They unlocked the doors and got the dogs out. Once the dogs were clear, they proceeded to break all of the other windows as well. By the time I hit the floor, I already started hearing stories about what had happened, some being even more exaggerated than what I saw, but close enough to the truth. As far as the owners, they were pulled off the blackjack game they were playing and arrested. If you are arrested for any crime at a casino in PA, you are placed on the state's exclusion list and cannot enter a PA casino ever again or will be charged with trespassing. A guy literally set himself on fire in the parking lot of the casino here in Johannesburg. He lost everything, went downstairs, poured petrol all over his head and set it on fire. That's an incredibly painful way to die. And sometimes you survive. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.